going on, everybody? Thanks for watching again. I just wanted to do a quick kind of video recap and review of our 2006 Porsche Cayman S. This is a 987 generation Cayman. So first year of the Cayman S. This car has 295 horsepower around there and about 255 pounds of torque. So 3.4 liter flat six, and this one is a Tiptronic. So kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to drive and what the ownership experience has been like so far in the last few years of us owning it. So let's go for a drive and see what it's all about. All right, so what's this thing like to drive? So sound of the flat six is great. It's a really smooth motor. It never feels like overtaxed, like no matter how much you're revving it, you know, all the way up above 6,000 RPM. It's smooth and doesn't feel like it's being stressed or anything, which is pretty typical for a Porsche flat six. They just have nailed this engine layout for sure. And I think that these cars are actually getting more desirable in part because, you know, the latest, at least the entry-level Caymans and Boxsters are now four-cylinder turbos, which do not sound anywhere as near as good as an older flat six, I think. And I think that's one big reason why Porsche went with a 4-liter flat six for the new Cayman GTS and Boxster GTS, because I think their core buyers that really were fans of the flat sixes wanted something that felt more special and more like an older style flat six instead of a turbocharged 4-cylinder. So 300 horsepower is not a lot by modern current standards, but you don't really need a lot more than 300 horsepower, especially on a winding road like this. I mean, sure, yeah, I could have a faster car and it would be, I guess, more exciting, but I mean, I'm not pushing this car that hard right now, and if I push it to its limits, I'd be driving borderline recklessly because it's got pretty high performance limits. The engine, the power band is very engaging. I mean, it's got a really nice mid-range, you know, 255 foot-pounds of torque, and then if you decide to take it all the way to 7,000 RPM to the red line, it kind of has this last little bit of power from like 6 to 5,500 to 7,000. It really kind of comes alive and just, you know, races towards the red line. Handling is definitely the high point of the Cayman. It's extremely well balanced and very stable feeling. You can make it oversteer if you really push it hard, but it really rotates around its center in a way that is really predictable and just flat out really fun. The steering is light, and it has quite a bit of feedback. You can really feel bumps and undulations in the road, and you can also really tell what's going on with the back tires in the back end as it moves around, and it kind of takes the set, you know, hit your apex and then just punch it coming out of the corner, and it just digs in. It's got very high mechanical grip. Brakes are very good in the Cayman S. I mean, they're bigger than the base Cayman. Yeah, you can use the brakes. You can trail brake into a corner and get it to go from, you know, maybe understeering a little bit to like just neutral or slight tail out stance. And it's just very controllable and never intimidating to drive fast at all. And it's just absolute blast. The engine sounds great. Yeah. The chassis is so poised. Tiptronic, like I said, that's it. This is my girlfriend's daily driver. I personally would prefer a manual, but it's great for a daily, for around town, not having to put up with shifting it and dealing with the clutch and all that. What I really don't like about it are the steering wheel mounted buttons. It's just not an intuitive design, but you know, it's a super strong transmission. They seem to last forever. So certainly for a daily driver, nothing wrong with a Tiptronic. Styling wise, great looking car. This car is still, it's a beautiful car. I really think that, I mean, you know, aesthetics being completely, you know, subjective, I think it's better looking than the generations that came after it. It's got, especially from the rear, 3/4 looking down at it, the haunches in the rear, the rear comes to kind of like a not a point, but it kind of comes together. Just a beautiful design. It's aged really well. People look at this car, if they don't know Porsches, they could think it's a brand new car. I mean, it still looks relatively current. It's been very reliable. It was a daily driver up until COVID happened, and now it spends more time in the garage. It's got 134,000 miles on it. You know, with the miles, some of the things are starting to break on it. The sun visors, the mounting clips, the rearview mirror broke. I had to replace that. That was not cheap to buy a new one. The cup holder clips have broken. I'm going to go in and take that out and fix that. It's been very reliable, and we've had to replace the suspension. We had an inspection done on it recently, and they didn't find anything wrong with it, so I put the coilovers on it. They're ST coilovers, which are basically KW Variant 1 coilovers, and the car had the original factory suspension, and with 130,000 miles on it, it was definitely getting worn. The car actually was a little bit sketchy to drive fast with the previous stock suspension being worn out. And then we replaced the suspension, and the coilovers, the ST coilovers, which are budget coilovers, are probably like, I don't know, I think they're about $1,200, something like that. They really improved the handling of the car. We dropped it in 2 inches all around, I think, something like that. There was still tons of travel. We could have lowered it even more. So lowered it about 2 inches. The lower center of gravity and then the new coilovers, the car just handles great. It also has new Federal Fusion, which are kind of a budget performance tire. They're cheaper than Pilot Super Sports and whatever the Michelins and other brands that people put on Porsches, but for the money, which was around $600 to $700 for the set, they're very nice tires. They have a really gradual breakaway. I feel like they don't have as much outright grip as some Michelins or some other performance tires, but that's because they're probably half as much, or maybe even less than half as much. So I would say overall, great tire. It's very quick down a back road. I mean, kind of as fast as you want to go. If you were to push this thing to its absolute limit on a public road, you would be driving recklessly. You can pick up one of these for between $15,000 and $35,000, depending on the year and the spec and the condition. It's a lot of performance for the money.